What's going on, guys? Noki here, and today I wanted to bring you guys the best Black Friday deals that I was able to find. I did break them down by store, so that way it's pretty easy for you to find them, and they're also going to be down in the description. I do recommend also shopping online through Black Friday this time instead of going in store and waiting in line with all those people, especially with COVID going on, guys. Anyway, guys, let's get right into the deals. So the first website we're going to be looking at is going to be Amazon, and they are going to have the Fire HD 10-inch tablet for $79 or $80, I'm sorry, instead of the usual $150. So that's going to be a pretty good deal. These are actually going to be tech-related deals, guys, computers, gaming, all that good stuff. So any other deals I'm not going to cover in here, just those things that pretty much pertain to the channel. And this was honestly the only thing I was able to find on Amazon that had anything remotely close to that. So again, you do have the Fire HD 10-inch tablet for $80. The next website we're going to be looking at, guys, is going to be Best Buy, and I actually did find a couple good deals on here. So we do have a 15-inch Lenovo laptop with an i3, 8 gigs of RAM, and a 256 gig SSD. For $299 instead of the usually $450. It does have a touchscreen. It is going to be a 10th gen i3, so it's up to date and all that good stuff. And then next to that is going to be the 15-inch touchscreen Lenovo, again with the i5, 10th gen, 12 gigs of RAM, and also a 256 gig SSD. One thing I do want to note on this is that it is going to be a quad-core processor with 8 threads. That is going to be that i5, even though it is on a laptop. So has that quad core with 8 threads, and for $350, you really can't beat that, to be honest, instead of the $600 price point that you usually would be paying. Moving on, guys, we do have a HP desktop. Yes, it is going to be a desktop pre-built, not gaming, but it does have an i7 8700 with 8 gigs of RAM, has a 256 gig SSD, and obviously it's already built, all that good stuff. The reason I put this on the list is because it's only $530 instead of the usual $800 price point. It does have the i7 8700, and the 9700, which isn't much different to the 8700 by itself, is a $250 or $60 processor. Plus, you do get the 8 gigs of RAM. That's probably like another $30. You get the 256 gig SSD, which is like another $30. You get the case, the power supply, all that good stuff. And honestly, for $530, I just thought it was a really good deal. If you want, you can even part out each component, put them on a different case, slap on a graphics card. Boom, you have a gaming PC. Or you can slap on a graphics card onto that one. Haven't looked inside it. I don't know if you can, but hey, you know what? Why not give it a try? Next page, we do have an Acer 27-inch IPS LED 75Hz FreeSync monitor. So 120 usually goes for $200, and this is going to be a great option if you're barely getting into PC gaming. Instead of your standard 60 Hz, boom, get a 75Hz, 27-inch, 1 millisecond response time. Great option, great secondary screen. Also, I'd recommend picking that up as well. Moving on to hard drives, we do have a SanDisk Ultra 1TB M.2 SSD for $100 instead of the usual $230. We have a Samsung 860 EVO 1TB SATA for $110 instead of the usual $170. So I didn't really have this on the list, but I just came across it in the ad and I wanted to cover it. So if you can get your hands on a PS5 or an Xbox Series X, those are going for like double what you'd pay. So if you see one, I'd honestly recommend picking it up, because again, even though you're paying $500, maybe like $530 out the door, you're going to be making about $1,000 on a PS5, and on a Series X, you're going to be making about $900. So you are going to be definitely profiting in the long run. All right, now I actually had to scroll through quite a few pages to finally get here, but we do have gaming accessories. I do see their Razer Krakens here are going to be $55 instead of $100. That's a good deal because it does also come with that mix amp there, or whatever, or the built-in controllers, I'm sorry. So it's going to be a great headset. I've had Razer products before, but again, I digress. You do have a good selection on mice. You have a Logitech G502 Hero SE. Instead of $80, you're going to just be spending $35. Same thing with the Razer Viper, which is what I'm using now. It's going to be $40 instead of the usual $80. 60-gram mouse, great alternative to like a, I don't know, Final mouse. And if you really want a wireless G502, you can get it for $100 instead of the usual $150. Same thing with the components. They only had 2 processors that were on the ad. I don't know if they're going to have more, but either way, both of them were good. You do have an i7 10700K 10th gen. For $360, you're getting a $50 discount instead of the usual $410. Same thing with Ryzen. So if you're a Ryzen type of guy or girl, you know, whatever, then go ahead and do this option for $280 instead of the $330. You are saving another $50. Both great processors. Both are the most latest gen actually that you can buy, so they're not going to be outdated or anything. Let's go ahead and move on to Target. I'm not going to include any images on there because for Target, the only thing I was able to find at Target was going to be the Amazon Fire HD tablet for $79. I don't see why you would pick this up at Target unless you're maybe just shopping around and browsing and you happen to come across it. Just go ahead and buy it for $80. It'd make a great Christmas gift instead of the usual $150. But I mean, realistically, you're probably going to be buying that through Amazon. All right, now moving on to GameStop. I don't play console. I just play PC. So honestly, if you want to look through the game deals, you can. First thing we do have here though is going to be the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. Again, if you can get them, even if you're not going to play them, I recommend picking them up because you can flip them for double what they're worth on eBay. They're going for a lot of money right now, so we don't really care about the games because we don't play console, but we do have a couple mice that they have. They have the Razer Viper for $40, and they have the wireless version also for $120 instead of the usual $140. Razer Viper wired instead of the usual $80, you are spending just $40. So both great deals, and you also do have a controller here for $140 instead of the $160. It's going to be the Razer Wolverine, which is a great controller. I've actually used it before. I think it's better than the Xbox Elite controller, even the Elite 2, but that's going to be for you to test out. Controllers are going to be on sale for just $50, so you're going to save $10, which honestly isn't a bad deal instead of the usual $64, depending on which one you get, or $59. And I think one of the better deals in this case for controllers is going to be their used option for only $30 instead of the usual, I think, $40. I might have skipped by it, but they also did have a HyperX mousepad for $20 instead of $30, and it's actually going to be the one I'm using now. It's an XL mousepad, so it's super big. It'll fit your keyboard and mouse on there. Great pickup as well. But that's pretty much going to be it for GameStop. Next thing we're going to be moving on to is going to be Newegg, and they actually have the best deals, to be honest. All right, so for Newegg, right off the bat, front page, you do have the i9-9900K for $320 instead of $550, and the same thing with the drive. So you do have the Samsung 860 EVO SATA SSD, 1 terabyte for $100. So it does have the price beat there compared to Best Buy. They had a pretty good selection on monitors too. You do have the Asus Tough Gaming 24-inch 144 hertz monitor for $150 instead of the usual $180. You also do have a MSI 27-inch 165 hertz monitor there, curved, also for $210 instead of $250. The Acer Curved Nitro 27-inch is going to be $250 instead of the usual $300, and it is a 240 hertz monitor. So we got the 9900K again right there, again $320 instead of $550. We also do have an i7 9700K, which is $260 instead of $410. That's actually something I plan on picking up myself. So again, 8 cores, 8 threads, or I think it's 8 cores, 8 threads, I'm sorry. But that's going to be one of the better options that I'm picking up myself. The i7 10700K, so if you have a motherboard that supports 10th gen, you can get that for $370 instead of $410. Great deal there. And then obviously you have the other deals that they put out when you bundle the processors with the motherboard. If you want to buy a standalone motherboard, you can get the Asus Tough Gaming B550 Plus for $130 instead of $180. And the best part about this is that it's a Wi-Fi motherboard. I put out a video on an NZXT PC review that I was doing, and apparently a lot of people care if the motherboard has Wi-Fi because surprisingly people play on Wi-Fi for some reason instead of going straight Ethernet. But there's your solution. $130, you get a Wi-Fi motherboard through Asus. A little bit on the budget end, you do have an ASRock B450M motherboard for $60 instead of the $72. Same thing with the ASRock B550M Pro motherboard. It does have a beefier heatsink, so that's going to be the benefit on this one. You get that for $90 instead of $115. They have a few cases, but I didn't really see any that caught my attention besides the Corsair IC-U220T. RGB comes with the fans in the front. It's tempered glass, all the good stuff that you want in a case for $65 instead of $115. And you also do have the Fractal Design Meshify case for $70 instead of $95, so you save $25 there. It's got the tempered glass, no RGB fans like the Corsair did, but you know, whatever. Power supplies, I didn't really find a good deal that interested me, or at least I didn't have many options besides the EVGA 500 watt for $40. I'd say this is more on the lines of a budget build power supply because it's not 80 plus certified or anything like that. So I mean, but honestly, for $40, you really can't beat that. You have an Intel NVMe M.2 SSD, 1 terabyte for $83 instead of the usual $160. And you also do have that Evo, again, like we brought up in the beginning of their ads, for $100, 1 terabyte SATA drive SSD. And then if you obviously don't want to go with like the super end brand, you can go with the Team Group for $68 instead of $90. You get 1 terabyte SSD SATA. For the RAM, you do have Corsair Vengeance here, 32 gigs, clocking in at 3600 megahertz for $120 instead of the usual $200. That's going to be a really good deal and a great pickup, to be honest, if you can. At least it's going to be one of their better options for memory on there. Actually, it's the only option I was able to find that intrigued me. Nothing really for mice besides the Logitech G502 wireless for $100 instead of the usual $170. All right, looking at coolers, you do have the Hyper 212 RGB Black Edition. It's actually the one I'm running on my build, and pretty much every build I've made has this cooler. $35 instead of $45, so you do save $10 there. And you do have the Cooler Master Hyper 212 Evo, which is kind of the same thing as this one without the RGB and a little bit of a different design. But again, for a budget build, it's only $25 instead of the $40. If you're into liquid cooling, you have the Corsair Hydro Series H100i RGB, $100 instead of $160. And then you also do have the MSI Mag Core Liquid 240R for $100 instead of $130. I wasn't really able to find any notable deals at Costco, but the one thing I did come across was the MSI Optics 27-inch 144Hz monitor. It does have 1 millisecond response time, and honestly what caught my eye on this is going to be the 27-inch factor with the 144Hz, 1 millisecond. That by itself is a great combination, and you do get that for $170 instead of the usual $200. They had a couple of good options for monitors on their website, so you can get a 27-inch 60Hz monitor for $90 instead of $200. And one of the things that mainly caught my eye here is going to be the Alienware 25-inch 240Hz 1 millisecond response time monitor for $250 instead of $510. That's going to be another thing I'm probably going to be picking up if I do happen to come across it and it's in stock. They also do have a 27-inch version of this monitor instead of 25 somewhere on their website. I don't know exactly where, but if you look through that or the website, you will find it. And again, I'll also be linking them down in the description. But you can get a 27-inch 240Hz 1 millisecond response time. Again, the exact same thing. But in this case, you'd be paying $350 instead of the $650. Next, what we're going to be looking at is going to be staples. And the first thing we have are going to be their AirPods. You can get the AirPod Pros for $200 instead of $250. So you get a $50 discount. Same thing with the original AirPods. These are the second gen with charging case, non-wireless charging, but you can get them for $120 instead of the $160. You save $40 there. You also have some pretty good options on monitors. You have an HP 24-inch monitor, 60 Hz for $90, and you also do have a 27-inch for $120 instead of the $200, and that is going to be 27-inch, both 60 Hz. They had pretty decent deals on laptops, so we're going to go ahead and go through those. You do have an HP i5 with a 14-inch screen, 8 gigs of RAM, and a 256 gig SSD for $380. It's going to be a 10th gen i5 also. I think it's touchscreen. I'm not sure. Actually, I don't know. Don't quote me on that, but either way, even if it's not, still a good deal. You also do have an HP 17-inch laptop with an i3, 8 gigs of RAM, 120 gig SSD, and a terabyte of regular storage for $350 instead of the $550. This is going to be another highly recommended item that I would obviously recommend just because of the specs you get for the price. Walmart had some pretty good options too. You can get AirPods for $170, so that's going to beat the $250 that you're usually spending on them. In this case, and it's actually going to be other prices too from other stores. I think Staples had them for $200, but you can get them here for $170. You can get an Apple Watch Series 3 for $120. You're going to be saving $60 instead of the $210 that you would normally spend on that. Controllers here are going to be $40, and it is going to be for the Xbox One controllers, so that's going to save you about $20 depending on which ones you go for. And the last site we have is going to be Micro Center. A lot of their deals are going to be in-store only, so keep that in mind. I don't know which ones, unfortunately. But, you know, when the time comes, if you want to look through their website and see which ones are and aren't, you can do that. We have a couple of Micro Center deals that we're going to be looking at here. You do have your AirPods that you can get for $180, or I'm sorry, $200 instead of your $250. So it's going to be on the decent end, I guess. And you also do have your $120 regular AirPods second gen for $120 instead of $160. Actually, if we look at the ad here, you'll notice that it says available for in-store pickup only. So obviously, if you look through the ad and you see that, you'll have here usually ships in 5 to 7 business days. The next thing we have is going to be Corsair Vengeance RAM. It's going to be 16 gigs at 3200 megahertz for $69 instead of the usual $90. And you also do have a 32 gig kit for $110 instead of $150. Same thing with the Crucial Ballistics RAM. It's going to be clocked at 3200 megahertz for $130 instead of $180. And also you are going to have a 500 gigabyte SATA SSD. 860 Samsung Evo for $550 instead of the $90 that you would normally spend. You have a couple motherboard deals, but unfortunately they're only in-store only. So I mean, if you really want to go and drive down there, you can with all those people. But you do have an Asus B450 motherboard here for $130, and you also do have an MSI B450 Tomahawk for $125. Both of these are going to be a good deal. I think this one usually goes for $200, the B450. I'm not sure about the Tomahawk, but either way, I think they're both great deals. Moving on to processors, you do have the AMD Ryzen 7 3700X for $280 instead of the $330. You save $50 there. You have the Ryzen 3 3200G for $100 instead of the $120. So if you're looking for a budget build, this is going to be a great option. You have an i9 9900K for $300 instead of the usual $600, but again, in store only. Same thing with the i7-10700K, in-store only for $350 instead of the $550. And for the i5, you do have that for $170 instead of $300. To be honest, these you can all buy online on other websites. So honestly, I would probably try doing that first instead. And except the i9, that's going to be one of the better deals that you can get on this. But for these two, you can definitely buy them online. Now, if we look at the hard drives, you do have an inland 512 gigabyte SSD M.2 drive for $60 instead of $90. And you also do have an SATA version 1 terabyte for $90 instead of $120. So both of these are going to be great options. You're saving $30 on both. Alrighty, guys, and that's pretty much going to be all the deals I was able to find on my end. I'm sure I missed a couple websites. Like I think I missed Lenovo and the HP website, all those other sites, I'm sure. But I didn't really want to go in too deep because a lot of those sites, even like Micro Center, a lot of those stuff are going to be in-store only. So I didn't really want to go ahead and cover those. I did cover a good amount, and I covered the major. Those are going to be the items I definitely recommend picking up. I'm picking up personally the i7-9700K from Best Buy, from Newegg, and I'm also going to pick up a couple of hard drives because they're super cheap and they're SSD 1 terabyte drives, so why not? But that's going to be the deals that you do have for Black Friday 2020 in this case. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any other deals that you see, leave them down in the comments for me to check out and also other people to check out. Please go ahead and slap a like on the video, guys, and if you have any other video recommendation ideas that you want me to do, leave them down in the comments also. I'm pretty much open to anything tech related, so if you wanted me to review something that's pretty economic in this case, or budget friendly, go ahead and drop it down in the comments, drop a link, all that good stuff. I'll check it out, order it, review it for you guys. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching, and peace.